What's up, everybody? My name is OMG, WTF, LOL, FTW, BRB, and welcome back to the day 3 of the week of WrestleMania. It is day 3. Today, we're going to be going over some things that happened throughout the years, angle-wise, superstar-wise. It doesn't really matter, just certain things that I booked in this game or didn't book in this game that I really wish I would have booked differently or booked a certain way or something like that. So this is kind of like the rebooking of the invasion. So there may be some things that were repeated in the previous video, the Omega and OMG look back on the invasion, the hour-long video. By the way, I apologize for how long that video was. I wasn't intending it to be that long, but you get me and Chris in a phone call, we just start rambling. And, you know, at the end of the day, we did cover all the invasion. Like, it wasn't like we just started rambling off about other stuff. So, for those of you who really want to know that stuff, we'll watch it, and I appreciate all of you as well. But this one's just going to be kind of a quick little video. I'm hoping it won't be too long, maybe 30 minutes the max, as we go over some of the things that I wish I would have done differently, pretty much. So, I'm going to pull up this handy-dandy notepad over here. I'm not sure if you guys can see it on the screen. Another thing I want to talk about real quick is I am recording this a little differently, so I'm not sure if it's going to look any different or how it's going to look. I had to move my game over to the side, where usually it's in the center. I don't think it's going to change anything, but it might. Again, I'm not sure. Also, we do have music up. Hopefully you guys can hear it. Hopefully it's not too loud. Hopefully I'm not too loud. But with that being said, before we jump into this, I just want to make a quick little announcement to you guys. I'm going to make another announcement. Like an official announcement coming up here soon. But you guys can't forget, this week of WrestleMania is every day. We got Thursday tomorrow, which is going to be Nitro. But Friday, we are doing a Fire Pro live stream, a simulation of a couple of the matches from the Sunday Night Heat Super Show, and of course the entire card of WrestleMania 18 that I'm able to do pretty much, because Fire Pro does limit some of your matches. So. But we're going to be doing a Fire Pro simulation over at my buddy Zach Manzi NVO. That's the name of his Twitch channel, Zach's channel. Definitely give it a check out. I highly recommend checking him out. We're probably going to be starting that stream around 7:30, 8 o'clock, because he doesn't get off work until 7. So it might be a little bit of a late stream, but I appreciate all of you that do come. And for all of you that do come, you can get a chance to win a copy of Total Extreme Wrestling 2016. We're going to be giving away 2 copies of that game over on Zach's channel. We're going to be giving away one in the beginning, right after the Super Show's kind of over, and right before WrestleMania 18, so you're going to want to be there early. And we're going to be giving one right at the end, so right at the end of WrestleMania 18. I'm not exactly sure how we're going to do it. I know there's like websites that you can kind of just enter your name and do like random drawings. I might do something like that. But we're going to be giving away 2 copies of TEW over on Zach's channel this Friday. Be sure to be there if you want to win a copy. And also, like I said, I am going to be making an official announcement for this as well, because I do have one more copy to give away. We're going to be giving away 2 over on Zach's channel, but we're going to be giving away 1 copy of Total Extreme Wrestling over on this channel. I'm going to upload a video. You guys are going to want to comment on that video if you want to win the copy, because in order to win the copy of Total Extreme Wrestling, all you got to do is predict the WrestleMania 18 card. I'm going to make the video. I'm going to list the match card for you guys. You guys tell me who's going to win. You guys tell me what you think the match card is going to look like. It doesn't have to be like in order or anything, just who you think's going to win, and whoever is the closest to the actual WrestleMania 18 is going to win it. So say if you get 95% of the card right, you're winning it. Say if you got 95% of the card right, but someone ahead of you also got 90% of the card right, then most likely that person ahead of you is going to win it because they commented first. So first come, first serve, and the first person who pretty much gets as close as they can to WrestleMania will get it. So be sure to look out for that video, because that's where you're going to want to comment. And as always, I'm going to say this at the end of the video, but I'll say it here as well. If you want to purchase Total Extreme Wrestling 2016, you can get $5 off your purchase of TEW16 if you use the code TEWOMG. That's TEWOMG. You use that code, you get $5 off your next purchase of Total Extreme Wrestling, and it helps me out as well. So go ahead and look out for that as well, guys. with that being said, let's just jump right into this rebooking of the InVasion angle. I'm probably not going to move a whole lot on here. I mean, there might be times where I might pull up the roster and show off a certain superstar, but it's mostly going to be me just talking. So if you don't want to really, you can just kind of minimize the screen and listen to me talk if you want, because it's really not a whole lot that's going to be going on screen here. So anyway, one of the first main regrets I have about the InVasion series is kind of the beginning of the InVasion series. I covered this a little bit in the video yesterday, but what I mean with that is, in the very beginning of the InVasion series, I was a little slow, which that's not what I'm mad about. I'm happy that I didn't jump right in on the InVasion series. In fact, me and one of my regular commenters, boy, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, buddy, Rosario, he commented, and he was even like, you know, saying like he really wasn't that big, or that latched on to the idea of me moving in slow. Like, he kind of liked the idea of, you know, maybe Vince Russo's idea of the NWO coming in right away. And as I explained to him, the NWO, I don't know if I actually explained this, I might have deleted this comment, because I wrote 2 comments back to him, and I was like, this one's way too long, I'm going to shorten it out, and the one that was shortened out was too long too. But anyway, in my opinion though, the NWO was already kind of a dead angle at that point, and it doesn't make much sense for the NWO to really want to help WCW either. If I was running the angle that NWO wants to kill the WWF because they just killed WCW, then yeah, that would have worked. But to me, the NWO was a dead angle at this time. One of the main it was just, people were tired of it. That was one of the main reasons WCW went under, and then it just doesn't make sense why they were doing it. Plus, I wanted to kind of like follow what WWF was doing at this time, and Shane McMahon, of course, being the guy who bought WCW and all that. I came up with my own story, of course. We covered that a little bit later with Shane revealing that SmackDown was supposed to be his show, it was supposed to be his opportunity to prove himself to his dad, but his dad took it away from him and isn't giving him a chance to pretty much take over the business because he's selfish, unlike, you know, Grandpa before him. So Shane took it out of his own free will to go purchase WCW and pretty much went to go take over WWF by itself. That's kind of where I went with that. But the thing I regret the most about the beginning of the InVasion angle is I really wish that I would have like gone on the WWE Network and like at least watched the first month of May to kind of get a gauge of what the angles WWE was running at this time, how certain superstars were being booked and all that. I kind of just went in heads deep with my idea of the InVasion, and I was like, okay, we'll get past this 1 month and start really kicking into gear, because this 1 month was kind of like a little bit of a teaser, because we had, you know, the WCW making their presence known, but it hadn't become a full-fledged war yet until I'd say probably after our first pay-per-view, which was Judgment Day. So I really wish that I would have gone back and I would have watched a lot of what was going on around this time, so I would have had an idea of how to book certain angles, because I mean, honestly, I like the way we ended up doing it anyway. I didn't want the 2-man power trip to be around forever, so I wanted to split them up pretty much immediately, get the titles off of them, and yeah. So I like the way I did it. I just wish that I would have also done it another way too. Like, I'm not 100% angry. It's just knowing this now and knowing for any other future projects, I'll probably at least watch the beginning portions of that, you know, whatever era we're doing or whatnot, and get a general idea of what they were kind of doing at that time, and then branch off onto my own from there. But one of the real things that I kind of regret about the beginning is I really messed up on Regal and Mick Foley. I believe at this time Regal was the commissioner, because him and Chris Jericho fought at WrestleMania 17, and Jericho was, you know, the whole reason they were fighting is because Jericho pretty much pissed in Regal's tea, and he being the commissioner and all that, you know, he made this match to get his revenge on Chris Jericho. So Regal was the commissioner at this time, and I was operating under the thought that it was still Mick Foley, and Regal was trying to earn his way into that spot. I really wish I wouldn't have done that. I kind of wish, you know, we would have kept it as Regal, because I could have definitely played up more with, you know, Regal's eventual betrayal of Vince McMahon. And in fact, that's something I really wish I would have known beforehand, because I would have done that. But I was under the mindset that Oh no, Mick Foley was in the Invasion angle, because I remember Invasion. I remember him coming back to special referee the Bra and Panties match and all that. So he was in the Invasion angle, so my thought, I was like, yeah, he was commissioner around this time. So I messed that up. And I also, in the process, I really wish I would have done more with Regal and Foley. Like, it doesn't make much sense with Regal being the startup WCW or WWF commissioner, but the way we went about it with, you know, Regal trying to like earn his way into being a WCW or maybe the SmackDown general manager so he can pass it over to Shane McMahon, I really wish I would tease that a little bit more, showed a little bit of a tension between Regal and Foley. Like, Regal was, you know, kind of getting in Foley's face, like, you know, you're a poor commissioner and I'm gonna take your spot, pretty much, like stuff like that. Like, kind of tease it a little bit more, and Foley kind of be on the Regal, like, I know what you're up to, dude. I know you only want this spot, so you can, you know, have Foley kind of know what's happening, but Vince be like, oh, not William, not William. And of course, it is William. So I wish I would have done a little bit more of that feud. That was one of those feuds that I feel like just kind of got rushed in there, and I just wish I would have dedicated more time to it. Like, I really feel like that feud should have started right here in May, and then went all the way up to Invasion. Like, had them just kind of bickering back and forth. Not fighting, but just like, you know... Sorry about that. A little sick, my nose is stuffy. But, you know, have them kind of like teasing some tension between each other until they eventually, the blow off between them. But moving on from Regal and Foley, another thing that I wish I would have played up a little bit better is Chris Jericho's jealousy. I think that's something during the Invasion angle that they did a lot better with him and The Rock, showing Jericho like he's just trying to, like, he wants to lead WWF, he's the guy that knows the WCW and ECW, he's worked for both of them, and he feels he should, you know, be the leader, and Rock and him just always butting heads and all that because they got huge egos. I wish I would have played up a little bit more with Chris Jericho's jealousy. I mean, Jericho, not really Jericho's jealousy, more his heel turn. It's the jealousy part I feel like we got down because Jericho was constantly trying to prove himself. Like, you know what? I'll take on Booker T. I mean, I know these guys. Like, Jericho was proving himself. He was pretty much the #2 guy for a while there. It was Rock and Jericho pretty much as the two top WF guys battling Booker T and Diamond Dallas Page, while Angle and Benoit did their thing, and Taker and Kane did their thing, so on and so forth. So Jericho really was kind of the guy at first, and I do feel like we played up the jealousy side. I feel like what I wish I would have played up more, though, is his heel turn. Maybe start teasing it more. Not like too much more. This isn't something I'm too upset about, because at the end of the day, I like the way Jericho turned. I like the way how he just kind of, you know, went from, you know what, if you want The Rock as your guy, have him as your guy. I'm done with this. I'm going to go and I'm going to focus on myself. And that's when he found Christian, pretty much. So I like that. I would have been kind of cool if we probably kept Jericho still with the WCW side of things, but I just, there wasn't much left for him at that time. Once we had him feud with Goldberg, it was, to me, that was kind of Jericho's wake-up call, like, I'm out of this WCW war. I don't want anything to do with Goldberg or anything like that, so I'm taking my bags and I'm leaving, pretty much. And yeah, I just wish I would have played up Jericho's heel turn more. Now, for jealousy, one thing, this is what I meant for jealousy. I kind of read a little earlier, so this is why I messed up. But as for the jealousy portion, the person I really wish I would have played up a little bit more of their jealousy was Christian. Of course, we did end up splitting Edge and Christian like they did in real life. They split them up because Edge won the King of the Ring. I kind of went that route. Now, Edge didn't win the King of the Ring. Of course, we gave it to Benoit. Edge was in the finals, and he did beat Christian in the semifinals to get there. So we were teasing, you know, a little bit of a jealousy that Edge is better than Christian, and Christian is getting angry. I just wish I would have done a little bit more, maybe a little bit more angles, showing Christian kind of whining, maybe doing the whole, why is it Edge and Christian, or why do you get to do all this stuff and all that, you know? Just the little things that showing Christian's kind of getting fed up until finally it happens. But again, something small, it still ended up going perfectly. And honestly, I'm enjoying Christian's booking. In fact, he's getting over pretty well as well. I was worried about after we split him with Edge that he was going to kind of get lost in the shuffle for a bit, but his partnership with Jericho has really helped him stay on TV, and it's really helped both of them out in the end of the day. So, one of the things that happened early on in the series, and it's kind of sad because it's real life kind of meeting fake life, I guess, but we did have China in the beginning, and of course, Stephanie McMahon, as you can see, oh, apparently she hates Randy Savage too. I don't know why. But she hates Chyna. She hates Joni Lawyer. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. She hates her, and she made sure that everybody else hated Chyna too. She spread rumors around Chyna in the locker room, pretty much getting people like Jeff Hardy to hate her. Let's see, Jeff hates Chyna, I think. Yeah, right there. Strong dislike of Joni Lawyer. There's other guys like, I don't know. There's just a whole bunch of, like, there you go. Lance Storm's got simmering tension with her. So does Lita. I mean, there's Lord Regal doesn't like him. Pretty much everybody doesn't like Chyna because of Stephanie McMahon. And it was to the point where I didn't have much of a choice. I had to release Chyna. There wasn't, oh, maybe I can fix this now. No, there was no way I can fix it. Too many people hated her. I would have been working every single show in order to get Chyna to pretty much be cool with the backstage roster. So I did what I had to do. I fired Chyna. The roster was happy. It increased a lot of morale, but in the process, Chyna now hates me in real life. And also Victoria doesn't like me too much because, well, Chyna was her mentor, and I just fired her mentor, so Victoria wasn't a big fan of mine, and still isn't a big fan of mine either, so one of the things I really wish I would have tried to do in the beginning, I'm not sure if it would have worked out at all, but one of the things I would have tried to do is just try to fix the Chyna-Stephanie McMahon relationship. I'm not saying it would have worked, it could have backfired, but at the end of the day, it could have worked, and maybe we could have had Chyna, because my plan for Chyna is pretty much, I was going to have her be the women's champion all the way up till WrestleMania. Her whole storyline was going to be, she's like, you know, this Amazon warrior, and she's breaking all the Barbie dolls and all that, you know? Kind of like they were doing with Karma for a bit. Minus the whole Amazon thing. And my plan was to do Chyna versus Trish Stratus at WrestleMania, you know, Stratus being like, you know, kind of like the ultimate Barbie doll. And Stratus going over Chyna to win her first women's championship. Of course, wasn't able to do that because of the Stephanie McMahon stuff, but that was the plan, and if I was able to fix Chyna and Stephanie, we probably would have went with that plan still. Moving on from some tragic news here, we go to Mike Awesome. Now, Mike Awesome, nothing too serious here. In fact, there's really not a whole lot where I'm like, oh, I wish I would have done this with Mike or this with Mike. I couldn't do much with Mike because, well, there it is, behavior. He's done soft drugs, which I don't care about soft drugs at all. But, oh, there we go. But he's used hard drugs in the past, which is one of his big problems. I've had to send him to rehab numerous times. And he's done steroids, which, again, I can't send people to rehab for steroids, so I just fine them usually. But he's always doing, you know, coming up dirty, getting popped, and having to be sent to rehab. And I didn't get to do much with him, and it's a shame because Mike Awesome's actually really good. In fact, with him being an ECW guy, he could have been one of those WCW guys that jumped over to ECW when ECW was there. I mean, we could have ran a story like that, but Mike Awesome just wasn't working out for us. And the one thing I had in mind for Mike Awesome, and I brought this up in the video yesterday, but the one idea I had for Mike Awesome, and it was kind of a punishment for him, but it was also kind of perfect for the time. So we've been feuding the Boogie Nights, which is Disco Inferno and Das Wonder Kid, Alex Wright, against Too Cool, which of course is Grandmaster Sexay, Scotty 2 Hottie, and Rikishi. And we were teasing that we were going to bring in a third man. That third man ended up being Tank Abbott, but Tank Abbott wasn't someone I really wanted to hire. Had no really interest in him, and he doesn't really fit the gimmick. I didn't really like the idea, but I mean, I figured I don't have much of an option now. He can be a good bodyguard role. Now I think that maybe I could have looked up like Tokyo Magnum or something like that. I think he was a part of them. Now that I know a little bit more, but still. But Mike Awesome, back in WCW, he had the whole That 70s Show gimmick. A horrible gimmick that a lot of people hated, but to me would have been perfect for Disco Inferno and Das Wonder King Alex Wright. I mean, he would have been perfect in the Boogie Nights doing the That 70s Show gimmick, and it would have been kind of his punishment for, you know, hey, stop doing drugs, dude, and come up, you know. You're good, but I can't do shit with you because you won't do anything, so. I did have a plan for Mike Awesome, he just screwed it up pretty much, and I guess maybe he dodged a bullet in the same time because he didn't have to do that 70s Show gimmick, but it almost happened. Another thing that I wanted to do that I ended up never doing was a feud between Dusty Rhodes. Oops, not on the thing. There we go. Dusty Rhodes, of course, the color commentator for Nitro, and Jerry the King Lawler. I thought that would have been, I still think it would have been a great little feud. Two legends of the industry as well. I'm not sure if Dusty and Jerry the King Lawler have ever fought each other in a one-on-one match, so it could have been a first time ever thing as well. But I thought of it out a little too late, sorry. And by the time I thought about it, the InVasion pay-per-view was well gone down, like long down the road already, and I'm not going to start it up for like WrestleMania or something. I'll save it for a different time. I will probably do Jerry Lawler versus Dusty Rhodes. I think that'll be a fun match, but I think it would also have been, you know, kind of like how Earl Hebner and Nick Patrick were fighting in InVasion. That kind of would have been like our non-wrestlers fighting thing, even though we did have Regal and Mick Foley, but they're kind of wrestlers too. And so is Jerry Lawler and Dusty Rhodes, but they're known as their commentator roles right now, so that would kind of been like the non-wrestlers battling each other. And they still can both go. I mean, Jerry Lawler's still an active wrestler. Dusty Rhodes is still an active wrestler, so they both still could have had a match in. I would say definitely post-InVasion we'll probably still end up doing that match somewhere down the road. Another thing that I'm sure a lot of you guys probably would agree with, I know my man Rosario might agree with me, is I wish I would have featured the NWO a lot more. I know I said in the video that I didn't want the NWO to kind of take over. I still wanted to focus on my other feuds. And in a way, I'm still happy I did that because I'm still very reluctant with the NWO. It doesn't make sense to me why the NWO would help WCW, the company they tried to put out of business for so long. I mean, you can argue that they hate the WWF just as much as they hate WCW, which is what I've kind of argued here, is that they hate Vince McMahon, and they're going to work together with Shane pretty much to put Vince out of company. And they're also getting paid the big bucks, and that's really all they care about. They care about putting Vince out of business, and they care about the big bucks, and that's why they're back here pretty much. I do wish I would have featured them a little bit more. I mean, we had them take out Vince at, what's that pay-per-view? No Way Out. I was trying to think of the final pay-per-view before WrestleMania. We had them take out Vince at No Way Out, and we still had them kind of doing their thing with, you know, Triple H and The Rock and all that, but I still wish that they would maybe not use them more or feature them more, but maybe have the NWO cause a little bit more chaos than they did, because the way I use the NWO is just kind of like, yeah, we're here, what you gonna do about it, pretty much. And that could also be, you know, the fact that they were brought in a little late, and the eventual storyline I wanted to do, I didn't want to have Shawn Michaels come back right away. I pretty much wanted him to like show up just before WrestleMania. In fact, I wasn't even sure if I wanted him to show up until WrestleMania. Have it be like a mystery. But I feel like then it would have kind of been too predictable. Like, I'm going to bring me a partner. Well, who's going to be his partner? It must be Shawn Michaels, you know? So I just feel like the NWO might have, I wish they would have had maybe like a bigger presence or something. I'm not exactly sure what I would have done differently, because I do like how he ended up getting to where we are. Like, I'm not mad at that, but I do admit that the NWO kind of got a little bit of a short stick here at the end of the day. So, a little bit of regret on that part, but you know what? They weren't my big concern. They were brought in so late too, so there's a lot of other people that I was more concerned with getting over, like a Booker T, like a DDP, who are already over at this time. But then you have the Steiners, you have Goldberg, you have Sting, who I'm trying to get over as well. So the NWO was never really my main concern. They were just kind of like the means to something bigger down the road that I'm sure you guys will like as well. So that's kind of the main reasons they were brought in here, is because I have another idea for them a little bit down the road that it doesn't really matter right now. Another group of people that I wish would have had a bigger presence besides the NWO would have been a lot more of the authority figures. I know we featured a lot of Shane McMahon over on WCW. That worked out well. Shane was kind of like the main focal point on WCW television, so I am happy with that. But guys like Vince McMahon didn't get used, and it's mostly because I knew I was never going to get dinged for not using Vince McMahon because he's me, so. But I definitely regret not using Vince. Vince should have been used a lot more. Excuse me. Should have been used a lot more than he was. Excuse me. They always come in twos. and he just wasn't used a whole lot. And that also goes for people like Lord Steven Regal, who was kind of like the authority figure on Nitro, and Mick Foley too, who after he lost to Regal, it's like we've never used him pretty much. And again, kind of a downside. I mean, Foley could have been useful. McMahon could have been useful. I mean, that's another thing I talked in the comments about with Rosario a little bit. There was one of my biggest regrets were, you know, the fact that I didn't use a lot of the authority figures, because they really would have been used at this time. But, you know, in his mind too, I mean, that could have affected it a little bit, because by using those authority figures, a lot of these young guns that weren't over, like, you know, Mark Jindrak, Sean Stasiak, Chuck Palumbo, Lance Storm, so on and so forth, some of the cruiserweights, Billy Kidman, so on and so forth. A lot of these guys really weren't over at the time. That time would have been taken away from them if I gave it to other people. So it's a bit counteracted, and one of my main missions in this was to pretty much get the WCW undercard over. That was one of my main things. I didn't want to just be hiring out the big guns right out the back, because I wanted to add a little bit of realism to it. I wanted to make it so I felt that these guys would be like, you know what, this is kind of big, this invasion angle's huge, we need to get in this, bro. We need to be in this. And that's kind of where I felt like I was at. I mean, I felt like we were booking it to the point where a lot of guys like the Steiners would have been like, you know what, yeah, I'm willing to take less money, you pay out my contract, I'll do it. And so on and so forth. Goldberg, even Sting, I feel like we definitely would have gotten Sting. Like, Sting would have seen guys like DDP and the Booker T like as stars, and he'd been like, you know what, yeah, I'm down, let's do this. So that's kind of was my main mission in the beginning, was getting these lesser known WCW guys over. A lot of the undercard guys, and a lot of the even though DDP and Booker T are main eventers, they were never like really viewed as like the main eventers. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, we'll get our title shots here and there, but we're not Goldberg, we're not Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall, or Sting, or Ric Flair, you know? So I really wanted to present a lot of these WCW guys as threats before we brought in a lot of the bigger guys, and obviously we ended up doing that. So if we would have had the authority figures on there, it might not have worked out that well. But at the end of the day, if we're gonna talk about realism, the authority figures probably would have been there. You know what? Now that we're on Paul Heyman, I didn't write this down, but since we're on the presence of authority figures, Paul Heyman, I wish I would have done a little bit more with too. I mean, like right after the ECW invasion started and kind of ended at the same time, it's like he just kind of fell to the wayside. I mean, he was always managing RVD, which I myself even forgot about. But I wish I would have had like Paul Heyman be like Vince McMahon's right-hand man, pretty much. Like maybe him and Foley bickering back and forth too, because they're trying to look out for the best for Mr. McMahon, and they have different opinions or something like that. But Heyman's another guy, along with, you know, Vince, Foley, and all of them, that really just didn't get a lot of attention that I wish I would have done more with. But he'll get his more post-invasion, trust me. So moving on, more people that I wish I would have done a little bit better booking with as we move a little bit down the road is Spike Dudley right here. Spike, he was with Molly Holly in the beginning, and I really had no intentions of splitting Molly and Spike. I thought, let's rewrite history and let's have them be kind of like the cute little high school couple that we have here in WWF. And that was my plan until we were feuding Spike and Gregory Helms, and I had Molly and Gregory team up, or, you know, have Molly manage Gregory for one night, and they had excellent chemistry with each other. So it was at that point that I went, I can't ignore the chemistry. I have to pretty much, they have excellent chemistry, you guys don't. So I went with the whole story of pretty much Molly falling for Gregory and turning on Spike. But once that happened, Spike kind of went downwards, and it kind of became more of an emotional wreck. And then that's when I had Hardcore Holly come in and kind of take him under his wing to pretty much turn that aggression around. And while saying it out loud, the storyline doesn't sound too bad, I'm still not really that big. Like, if I had to say something, I'd say my least favorite storyline I've done all year is the Spike Dudley Hardcore Holly storyline. Like, I'm starting to change it around a little bit now to fit more of my needs. Like, before I was trying to like make it the whole Spike's in the Holly family thing, and then Crash kind of messed that up. So right now, I'm not really even thinking about the whole Holly family thing. To me, it's just Hardcore Holly's pretty much taking Spike under his wing. Ooh. my music shut off there for a second, so don't know if you guys can hear the music still. You may or may not. My headphones came unplugged. I plugged them back in, so hopefully it all works out. If not, we're almost done with the video anyway here soon, so yeah. So Spike, a little bit of a, I mean, not too much. Again, now that I read it out loud, it's really not that bad, and I am starting to enjoy what we're doing with Spike and Hardcore now, but in the beginning portions, I really had no idea what I was doing, and I'm just like, this is shit. Like, I just kind of wanted to end it right there. But I have a problem with ending angles and not finishing them at the same time, too. Like, that always bothers me. Another group, this time it's a group, another group of people that I wish I would have done a little bit better booking with is the Right To Censor. Now, Right To Censor was pretty much split up after WrestleMania 17. They all kind of went their own ways after that. I've always been a big fan of the Right To Censor. I'm a big fan of Steven Richards myself, and I've always liked the Right To Censor gimmick. Maybe not as much as a kid, but looking back at it now, I'm like, it was a perfect gimmick. They got great heat. I mean, they could have gone a lot further with this, in my opinion, than they ended up doing. And while I'm not ashamed or like too upset with the booking of the Right To Censor, there are still things that I wish would have been done a little bit differently. I mean, the whole storyline I wanted for the Right To Censor is for them to take over Sunday Night Heat, and I don't know if I told that well enough. Like, I feel like I told the dissension between the Right To Censor and Val Venus and Steven Richards well enough, to the point where Val got, you know, said I'm done with this and left, and then the Godfather ends up joining him as well. But besides that, I feel one of the things I wish I would have done a little bit better is tell the story of the Right To Censor trying to take over Sunday Night Heat. So that's really about the only thing there. I mean, the split up for them and everything I'm enjoying, and yeah, the Right To Censor is probably something that's going to stick around for a while because, like I said, I really do like the gimmick. I think it's a great gimmick, and I think it's got great heel heat to it as well. Plus, I have plans for Steven Richards for the future. Some kind of big plans for a guy that's really not that over, too. And finally, the last person I would have done, or, you know, I'm not too happy with the booking I did with them, was the Giant. Now, Giant early on had some pretty good booking. I mean, he was one of the, you know, big guys with the WWF. Turned his back on the WWF in the War Games pretty much at Survivor Series. Feuded with The Undertaker. Actually, I don't think it was at Survivor Series. I think it was at InVasion he turned on the WWF. So it wasn't in War Games, because he was in War Games for WCW. So he turned on the WWF at InVasion during the WCW versus WWF match, which was going to be for his, you know, SmackDown, pretty much ownership of SmackDown. And the Hell in a Cell match between him and Taker was good, but right after him and Taker, it's like nothing really else happened for him. He was mostly my guy to help put over guys like Goldberg or something like that. And it's a shame because, you know, Giant and Ron Simmons really helped out WCW in the beginning, but as we started bringing in more and more of these name brand or, you know, big names for WCW, guys like the Giant started taking a little bit of the shaft. And I couldn't even really tell you what I would have done differently with the Giant. Maybe have him just be one of Shane's lackeys like Booker T is, you know, have him follow Shane around, which he kind of was because Shane would always put people up against the Giant. But again, I mean, unfortunately, you know, some people get pushed to the side when, you know, they get pushed to the side when, you know, other people are getting booked. I mean, that kind of leads me into this right here. I mean, here's some superstars I wish I would have done more for or could have done more for, but, you know, because like I said just before with the Giant, sometimes they get pushed to the side, you know, like other people need to be built up, and, you know, I'm not able to focus on everybody all at once. So guys like the Dudley Boys, Bubba Ray and Devon, they didn't get a whole lot of attention because I had to get injured off and pretty much let them sit out for a bit because I didn't want them to get lost in the shuffle. Diamond Dallas Page, even though, I mean, we made DDP a star, he had a World Championship match. Pretty much after that whole World Championship match, it really wasn't a whole lot going on for DDP after that. He kind of became the one that everyone was like, is he going to join the WWF? Like, DDP starting to show respect to the WWF guys. He was the first WCW guy to pretty much be like, you know what, this war is pointless. We're all here for the same business. Let's just let bygones be bygones and wrestle. And he shook The Rock's hand, and they got along, and he even got along with Kurt Angle to the point where he's like, you know what, I agree with you, dude. I think we should join the companies together. So, and then you have guys like Eddie Guerrero, who's so good, but I can't really find much to do for him. I teamed him with Chavo, they have horrible chemistry. and right now he's just kind of in the cruiserweight division right now. So good, but I just, lost in a shuffle. A lot of the ECW guys, Rob Van Dam, I mean, he kind of got lost in the shuffle. And he's the one that got most of the stuff. I mean, he's an upper mid-carder. He's freaking over. RVD's definitely doing well for himself. But then a lot of the other ECW guys like Tommy Dreamer, like Sabu, especially Sabu, like Sandman, they kind of got pushed to the wayside because, well, they weren't really putting their numbers up, and I didn't have much for them at the time. And then we move on to, I already talked a little about Lord Steven Regal, and I didn't do much with him. Wish I would have done a little bit more with him. Ron Simmons is another guy, him and Bradshaw especially. I mean, they had their feud over the Hardcore Championship and all that, but once that was over, it was over. And it's like we didn't do much with Ron Simmons after that either. So there's a handful of guys that I wish I would have done more with, but I don't know what I would have done with them. They just kind of got stuck in that spot where it was like, look, Creative doesn't have anything for you at the moment. Just do your job and wait your turn, because I'm not going to lie to you, guys like Bradshaw, guys like Eddie Guerrero, a lot of these guys that I didn't do much with in the Invasion are guys that I'm making sure that I got to do more with you guys this time around post-Invasion, because, I mean, spoiler report, no matter what happens, whether it's WCW or WWF winnings, we're doing a brand split. We have too much of a roster. I mean, we look at this roster here. Our ideal roster is 39. We have 78 wrestlers here, so we have too big of a roster. We need to do a brand split anyway, so a lot of these guys are going to be getting, their pushes finally too. So post-Invasion is going to be very nice to guys like Bradshaw, guys like the ECW guys, Eddie Guerrero, the Dudley Boys, the Cruiserweights, so on and so forth. So, and that's another thing, the Cruiserweights. I mean, Rey Mysterio got injured early on, and the Cruiserweights, they did their thing, but they still didn't get a whole lot of time at the end of the day. In fact, you got Vampiro holding the championship, and Vampiro is honestly not a Cruiserweight, but we can work around it. And then finally, the last thing I want to talk about, because I kind of skipped over this before to talk about the superstars I wish I would have done more with, but the last thing I want to talk about is Triple H. One of the things I really wish I would have done a little bit more with is playing up, the Triple H's mystery partner storyline a little bit more, eventually revealing Shawn Michaels to be the guy to join him in fighting the NWO, like doing DX versus the NWO. I wish I would have played up a little bit more to Shawn Michaels' mystery. I did kind of hint at it. I don't know if you guys caught it, with Stephanie always referring to, you've got a plan and all that, yada, yada, yada. Shawn Michaels was always the plan to pretty much bring in. In fact, X-Pac was going to be a part of this team as well. We were going to do a 6-man tag at WrestleMania, but like Mike Awesome, X-Pac just doesn't know how to stay clean, so. But yeah, I just wish I would have played up a little bit better with Triple H's mystery kind of storyline here. Again, not entirely sure what I would have done differently, but if given the chance, I would have tried to have done things differently with Triple H and Shawn Michaels and the eventual reveal with him. But with that being said, though, I am happy with what turned out. I'm happy with the stories that we've told. I'm happy with the way that the Invasion has turned out, and I really think you guys have enjoyed it too. I really think you guys are going to enjoy Monday Night Raw. I think you guys are going to enjoy Nitro. I worked very hard on them, and even though there are some things even after booking them, I'm like, I wish I would have done this differently. Like Stone Cold and Goldberg segment, for instance, on Raw. I like their segment, and in fact, I love their segment. It's been in my head all this time, but now I think back to, that segment with Rock and Stone Cold where they were sitting down and having kind of an interview with each other before WrestleMania. And I think that might have been a really good idea for Goldberg and Austin as well. But at the end of the day, I'm excited about it. I'm excited about WrestleMania. I think WrestleMania is going to be awesome, and it's just going to kill. So, thank you all for joining me for however long this video went on for, and hearing me just ramble and talk about what I would have done differently. And yeah, as always, my name's been OMG, WTF, LOL up to WBRB. I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, do me a favor, comment, like, subscribe. Don't forget to share this video with your friends, your Facebooks, your Twitters, all the social media accounts out there. I don't give a damns, the Instagrams. Do what you gotta do. Help your homeboy out. Get some new people up in here for this week of WrestleMania stuff. Be awesome. I said it a little bit earlier in the beginning, but, well, not a little bit earlier. I said it all the way in the beginning of the video, but don't forget, this Friday, Zach Manzi MVO. Follow him on Twitch. We're going to be doing the Fire Pro live stream. We're giving away 2 copies of Total Extreme Wrestling. Keep a lookout for that video announcing the giveaway for the WrestleMania, where you guys can pretty much predict the whole card. And yeah, you want to buy Total Extreme Wrestling 2016 for yourself and play it. Use the code TEWOMG to get $5 off your purchase. With that being said, that is going to be the end of this video, and I will see you guys for Thursday as we jump back into the action portion of the week of WrestleMania, and we will give you the perhaps final episode of WCW Nitro, so that'll be interesting. But until then, I will see you all later. Have a great day.